Hey guys, it's Kay from KS Anonymous, and I am back today with another episode of r/Tales from Retail. So this isn't my story, but a coworker told me about it because it happened in my department when I was on break, and it's pretty funny. Coworker was helping a customer find an item we had, chicken nuggets, and the customer asked why we didn't carry the fish sticks the company made, especially if we advertised it. My coworker was confused and asked if it was advertised on the app or in the newspaper. The customer said no, it's right here on the back of the box. The lady asked why we, the grocery store we worked at, didn't carry an item we advertised on the back of the companies that made the product box. My coworker had to explain that our grocery store doesn't have a say what is put on another company's box. Oh. Alright, so this is why I love Tales from Retail, because it's just the amount of stupidity that occurs. Oh man, sometimes I think, wow, maybe this store will have this item I see on the back of the box, and they don't. But it's not like I'm thinking that the store was advertising that they had the item. The company is advertising that they have the item, but that doesn't mean the store might have. Oh my god. Okay. Hello Reddit, longtime lurker and longtime retail worker here. Now, I have loads of retail stories, but I'm going to stick with the one I'm writing now. I'm not on mobile, and English is my first language, so burn me on the stake of Reddit if you must. Also, this may be a little long, so bear with me. Now, a little backstory. I work at a nationwide department store, specifically in the shoe department. Despite being here, I absolutely love working here. All of my coworkers and managers are amazing and kind. Even the customers are pretty awesome, with the occasional Karen. Except one. In my particular store, this customer is the bane of our existence. The whole store groans when she enters. Every time, and I mean every time she comes into the store, she tries to use every coupon she has, even if she can't because we have sales on them or they're on clearance, or tries to haggle for the cheapest price, which is pointless. She also tries to exchange anything and everything she gets, and then gets angry if it doesn't go her way. She never screams or fights anyone, she just fusses until someone bends over. She comes to my store at least once a week, still to this day. I personally have gotten to be graced by her presence multiple times, but I usually just take a deep breath and shake it off. Most of my coworkers have done the same, but this is the story of how she is now on our radar for possible shoplifting. On to the story. One day in June, this is kinda important, I was working my usual morning shift. Things were going fine and smoothly as they do. It was probably an hour into my shift when she walked in. I saw her coming with a pair of shoes in her hand and already knew that I was going to have a rough time with her. I just took a deep breath and put on my brightest customer service smile. Let's call her Bane for this story. Good morning, how may I help you today? Good morning, I have a return. Oh great, I absolutely love returns. Total sarcasm. Alrighty, do you have your receipt? Here. The shoes weren't in a box. We preferred to have them in the box so it would be easier to resell them. With a clearance sticker, so I already knew something was going to go wrong, but I went ahead and started the process. I scanned the receipt and then went to scan the barcode, where I immediately noticed the name on the sticker. The sticker didn't match the shoes. They were from a completely different company. I looked at it confused. Ma'am, the shoes and the tag don't match. What do you mean? These shoes were made by this company, not the company on the sticker. That's how I bought them. That was on the shoes when I bought them. I didn't believe a word that she said. I immediately called my manager and explained the situation. He came over pretty quickly and looked at the shoes. He repeated the same thing that I said to her. This is not my fault. I bought them like that. At this point, we both knew she was lying. I decided to leave it to my manager and start cleaning since it was slow. I was cleaning away, occasionally watching the mayhem I left my manager in from a distance until I spotted the shoes she was trying to return on display. The shoes were not on clearance, and they were brand new shoes that we received only about a month ago. They had a fresh new sign on them. I immediately grabbed the shoes and went back to my manager and Bane. My manager and I compared the shoes and looked at the lady. Ma'am, these shoes were not on clearance, and we only had them for a month. Bane became quiet for a bit before she started spouting lies again. My manager took the lies and finally decided to complete her return. I'm not sure how he does it, since I wandered away again, but he was able to get her name, phone number, and address before returning the shoes. Bane wandered off to a different part of the store, softly huffing to herself with a small return of about $12 instead of the $50 the shoes originally cost. After she left, my manager and I talked about it for a bit and looked at the receipt properly. It was then that we noticed that the pair of shoes that she bought that actually matched the sticker were from February. In our store's return policy, we were not allowed to return any clearance items past 30 days of the purchase. My manager let our security know about her, putting her on the caution list for possible shoplifting since she couldn't prove that she bought the shoes. Unfortunately, she is still allowed in the store, but I have let my manager know whenever she's in the store so we can watch her. I had to deal with her today, which is why I thought of this story. This isn't all that fantastic, but I need a place to tell this story, so thanks for reading. So what's more concerning about this particular story to me is the fact that this lady has shoes that are clearly new that she's trying to return under the guise of a different pair of shoes, which is weird. I don't know why she wouldn't just try to resell them if she stole them. Like, this whole thing is kind of strange. Like, it's impossible for her to actually have had her hands on that particular shoe anytime near her receipt. So I don't understand what she's playing here. Obviously, maybe she wanted that whole $50 back, but that doesn't make sense because it's like she's trying to say it's the clearance item. I don't know what she's playing. Someone tell me in the comments below if you understand what this woman is doing, because I would think if you stole brand new shoes that you would try to resell them for like a similar price instead of try to get a return on like a clearance level shoe. I don't get it. I worked for the cell phone industry for around 12 or 13 years, and I have tons of stories. This one is one of the craziest ones. It happened almost 15 years ago, so I will not get all of the dialogue exactly correct, but I remember what happened clearly. The customer came in telling me that the battery on his phone had stopped charging and that he wanted it replaced. I looked at the phone, and inside the charging port was extensive corrosion from liquid damage, so I took it back to the technician, showed it to him to confirm. He took the battery out and put it on the tester, and it did not immediately fail, as is common in cases like this. So I went back out to the customer and told him that the technician is running a test on the battery now. He said, why is he testing it when he knows that it does not work? I told him that we have to run a basic test on all batteries before we can proceed with replacement. The battery passed the test after about 10 minutes, so the charging issue was a result of the liquid damage that I found when he handed me the phone. The technician came out and explained to him that the phone had been exposed to liquid, and that was the reason the phone was not turning on. He, for some reason, would not accept what the technician was saying and started to scream and make a scene, demanding to talk to the manager and that we replace the phone and the battery because we have no idea how to do our jobs. This got the manager's attention, and he came over to see what was going on. He stood his ground and tried to explain the policy and the situation again. When the customer figured out that he was not going to fight his way into a new phone and or battery, he broke the phone in half. It was a flip phone. And threw one half across the store, hitting one of my coworkers in the back. He then said he is canceling his service and headed for the door, where he kicked the door open. It was a full glass door with a metal bar in the middle. I am not sure if his foot impacting it broke the glass or if when it hit the other side it broke the glass, but it broke. He then took the other half of the phone that was still in his hand and threw it in the parking lot and broke a windshield of a parked car. He then jumped into his truck and drove off, almost getting into an accident on the way out of the parking lot. Needless to say, he was arrested and was banned from the store. He also had around 6 restraining orders placed on him for saying verbal threats to the employees of the store. Yikes, it sounds like someone really needed some anger management, just saying. So about 15 years ago, that would be around 2004, and yes, the flip phone. And those would have been like the really sturdy, like Nokia type flip phones that everyone like makes a joke that Nokias were like practically bricks. So I could definitely see that actually breaking someone's windshield. Some people were calling that into question in the comments below this story. All I know is that is such a scary kind of situation to deal with, like when people can't control their anger and think it's acceptable to just start throwing things and breaking things and harming people. Like, that's scary, dude. Like, don't do that. Just don't do that. I'm a cashier, on mobile, etc. Older guy comes through with just a few items, less than 10. After scanning, I ask my usual question about coupons and rewards number. He hands me a coupon. I scan it, and it doesn't work, so I look at the coupon. It's for dairy. I think it was buy one, get one for free or half off, something like that. With long orders, like 40 plus items, I usually just assume the item was scanned and the coupon didn't work, rather common for us. But since it was like 10 items, I told him, "Sir, I don't believe you got any dairy today." "Yes, I did." He proceeds to pull out the orange juice cartons he bought. I was a little taken aback, but I was trying to remain polite still. Sir, that's juice, not dairy." He takes a second and stares. "Then I don't want either," with a dismissive hand gesture. I take both juices off and complete his order, but I've never had anyone prior or since think that juice was part of dairy. It just stood out to me as very odd, and this was probably a year ago now. Okay, so with this one, like, I feel like everyone knows what dairy means. Like, in my opinion, dairy is anything that contains milk. So, actual milk, ice cream, yogurt, those sorts of things are dairy, right? So to think to think that orange juice is dairy is really odd to me. There were some people trying to make an argument in the comments saying that maybe he thought it was anything in like the dairy section, therefore anything like in the refrigerator section or whatnot, but I just don't feel like that's an appropriate excuse, if that makes sense. I work at a main retail chain in the States. In my almost 2 years' time, I've never been asked for tech support over the phone. Technically, we aren't allowed to give out support, but more than often, I'm willing to help with some basic steps. OL is old lady who's calling. The old lady calls and explains for almost 5 minutes straight that she bought this TV for an elderly home she lives at. She had it for almost 2 weeks. She doesn't know much about TVs or anything tech in general. She also said her phone only can call the area code we live in, so I wouldn't be able to direct her to a support number. Anyways, her problem at hand was she turned on the TV and it was showing something completely different than normal. She read off some smart program. It was called Smartwatch or Smartcast. The TV is Vizio brand. I immediately thought she hit a button that opens a program, so I told her to press the exit button on the remote. She kept telling me about this message saying to accept the terms before using, found somewhere on the main menu. That took almost 15 minutes, then to realize it wants to connect to the internet. I then asked her to press the input button and read off the options. She read HDMI 1, and I immediately felt better. I told her to use the arrows on the remote to select that option. I then hear background noise. Her TV was fixed. The cutest thing was Ellen came on and she said, "Hi, Ellen." She was really happy and hung up. She was super sweet and very nice. She ended up calling back about an hour later to thank me again for my help. 26 minutes of being on the phone to help her. I didn't mind it since it was slow today. Aw, I love that she said hi to Ellen on the TV. That's so cute. First time posting a story on desktop. So, this was a couple years ago, but it's getting close to the time where I'm going to be working at this place again, so I figure I might as well share before new, pleasant memories are made. This seasonal store is my first and only introduction to the retail industry, sad as that is, and I do like it any other time besides when things are chaotic and out of hand. Anyways, it's a particular strain of Halloween store, and as it got closer to the holiday, the rushes that I dealt with were practically every shift, and I almost got used to it, even if it was my first retail job. I had not known about Karen types before this, and by God, I wished it remained that way. I'm simply standing at my register, checking people out as fast as I can while remaining friendly. The line is weaving through the maze of merchandise, and as with any store, we are understaffed, and I'm the only cashier up front. Manager is in the fitting rooms. I have no way to contact her, no radios, so I am tragically effed if anything goes pear-shaped. And so it did. Here comes Karen, hands full of costumes for her gremlins, which she did not have with her. I ring her up, everything is going good. She's being polite, actually. The interaction begins. "Good afternoon, ma'am. I hope you found everything you were looking for." "Hi, and yes, I did. Do you know if you have any coupons available?" I'm sorry, I don't know if we do. You can look on the website or in your email if you're signed up. She was already on her phone. I don't know, I can't connect to the internet right now. It's not a big deal. Liar. Well, just let me know. I get through her entire $200 plus order and happily send her on her way so I can get through the rest of the line and my shift. And of course, I, ignorant, think I did good and that she won't come back. I am very wrong. I get through a couple more people before this lady storms back into the store and pushes into the front of the line, stopping me from asking another person to come up. I found a coupon online. I want you to void all this and let me buy it with the coupon that you didn't tell me about. I was flustered and confused. Miss, I can't do that. I'm a sales associate and my manager is too busy to come up here. I can only ask you to hold on until she can come up. No, I'm staying here until you do something about it. I look at her and to the irritated and similarly confused people in line behind her. I try to get through at least another person. It's really gosh dang awkward because that is in fact what she's doing. Standing there, giving me a dirty look. Again, I can't call my manager and I sure as heck can't leave the busy counter. Finally, one of my other associates come up, probably to work on the other register, and I stop her and ask if she can get the manager or at least tell her what's happening. She says that the manager is really busy, but she'll try. Karen finally huffed and stepped off a little so I could keep doing my job. My manager eventually came up to, I guess, refund or return everything for Karen, and she was out of my hair. The rest of the day is unimportant beyond cleanup killed me because rushes sucked. Apparently, Karen said that I was extremely rude and that I should be written up or something. My manager was cool and just asked for my side and believed me when I said I wasn't. Yay for managers that actually believe their own employees. But can you believe that? Like, do you have any coupons? That is the customer's responsibility, not the employees. It's obviously really busy. Like, and to be like, oh yeah, that person was really rude to me because like they didn't do what I wanted them to do. That's so dumb. It's so annoying. That's frustrating. So this next post is actually sent to me directly by one of our lovely viewers. Hi Kay, another story if you're interested. Never posted anywhere. This happened relatively recently. I was on the sidewalk walking towards the front entrance of a discount grocery store. To my left, cutting through the parking lot, I see a family of 5 also heading towards the front entrance. A dad and a mom who was carrying an infant with a toddler and a teenage girl close by. They seemed normal and even well dressed for this neighborhood, so I didn't think much of it. I did notice that they were going to arrive at the front entrance just before I did. It's important to note that this building has 2 entrances. The first one enters into a vestibule type area where the empty carts are stored, and a second entrance that enters the actual store. When I arrive at the first entrance, I see the following. The toddler is to my left, just right of him is the shopping cart where the mother is loading the infant into the seat. The teenage girl is pulling a second cart from the row of empty carts. She pulls it behind her towards her mother's cart where she leaves it at an angle and then walks into the store alone. The dad I did not see. The 2 carts and the child are now completely blocking the second entrance into the building. So I walk up to the second cart, look at the mother, shrug my shoulders, and gesture towards the cart. She ignores me. So with my index finger, I push the left front corner of the second cart about 4 inches to the right, straightening it out a bit, giving me just enough room to squeeze by. Just as I do, I hear a male voice say, "Hey, you got a freaking problem?" Not knowing who said that or who it was directed to, I turn to look. I see the dad who was just inside the first door and around the corner, which is why I didn't see him when I first entered. He is looking at me and says again, "You got a problem? You got a problem?" I turn and make a beeline for the spot where the security guard normally stands. In the background, I can hear him still yelling over and over. "You got a problem? You got a problem?" I approach the security guard and simply point in the direction of the yelling man and then head for the fruits and veggies section. I don't know what happened next as I didn't see any of them again. I was amazed how someone could become so territorial about an empty shopping cart that they had not even touched yet. For me, this was the last straw in a series of very similar events. Close to a dozen other times in that same store, I had been approached by a large family, both in numbers and size, blocking an otherwise empty grocery aisle. When I said, "Excuse me, can I get by?" I was met with cursing and threats of violence. Has common sense and common decency completely left our society? I no longer shop at that store. I now go to a few specialty stores. It costs more, but the skinny women in their yoga pants have never threatened to kick my butt. Signed, Mystic. Thank you, Mystic, for sending that in. Now, I know this isn't technically, again, a Tales from Retail necessarily employee, but when people send me these kind of stories and it happens at a shopping place, then I just figure I can probably put it in here. Hopefully that doesn't bother you guys too much. But yeah, that's really weird that this dude is just like screaming if you got a problem because you like barely moved a cart that is just sitting there now. Okay, maybe perhaps common decency is gone, but I mean, hey, you found your new home where the yoga pants women are very not aggressive, I guess. just don't try to take their organic stuff from them, okay? And this next one is another viewer submission by Nick OJ 1975. So, having just watched one of your Tales from Retail, where someone had just had a bikini wax, reminded me of another story from when I was a supermarket worker. At this time, I was working on the checkouts, and as one of the longer-serving members of staff, would sometimes be asked to run the line, basically responding to any checkouts putting on their red help needed lights, and ensuring that the break rota was followed. This did allow me time to chat to customers in between lights, and one Sunday, a girl about my age, mid-20s, was in, who I had seen in there 2 or 3 times previously. The conversation went something like this. No, this is maybe 20 years ago, so I may be paraphrasing. Hey. Hi, how are you? Good, thanks. You? Oh, a bit sore at the moment. Oh? Yeah, I was having intimate time with my ex-boyfriend on the bonnet, hood to your American viewers, of my current boyfriend's car last night. We did end up becoming friends outside of the shop, and I love the fact that she had absolutely zero filter and no sense of shame. Sadly, she moved away a few years later, and we have lost touch since. Again, you can credit me as Nick KOJ 1975. You gotta love people who have zero filter. Like, yeah, no one had any idea that just this simple "hi, how are you" conversation was going to become such a detailed explanation of what her recent time has been like. Oh my. And this next one is also another submission by Nick KOJ 1975. Many years ago, I worked for a supermarket on the deli counter. This deli sold cheese, cooked meats, and raw bacon and sausages, and in the sausage section, we would have one feature flavor sausage. This would change on a monthly basis, so one month you might have pork and apple, another time pork and leek, etc. There was also a stand on the end of the aisle directly opposite this bacon and sausage section, which would always have some form of special item. Not necessarily things on special offer, but new products or items, often on manufacturer or supplier provided cardboard displays. One month we had a display up which had a Disney movie, Bambi to be precise. To get an idea of how long ago this was, these were all on VHS, and it was the first time ever that it was released in the UK for home viewing. Just after this display went up, we were informed of our next feature sausage. And no word of a lie, it was pork and venison. I went straight to my manager. We never had really been on great terms, but mostly got along by pretty much ignoring each other, and told him he had to dial back on the ordering of these sausages. Nobody was gonna wanna see the film Eat the Star. He basically brushed me off, saying, "Nobody will notice, don't be ridiculous." We did finally sell the sausages, but only after we reduced them down from something like £1.69 per pound to 10 pence per pound. Whether you use this or not, I hope you like the story, and you can use my email handle, NickKOJ1975, if you do use it. Look, it's Bambi! Let's get some deer meat to eat. Are we eating Bambi's mom? It's just a bad marketing idea. Good on you for pointing it out. Too bad your manager didn't listen. I worked in a costume jewelry store. We sold relatively cheap jewelry people would buy for formals or weddings. We have a small repair kit at work with some pliers. It has a bunch of O-rings and spare clasps for jewelry. One day, a customer came into my store with his family and asked me if we sold O-rings. He wanted to fix his bracelet he purchased from another store. I offered to fix it, and he didn't want me to do it, so I put a couple of O-rings in a tiny resealable bag and gave it to him. He asked for the cost, and I told him it's free. Our repair kit had over 100 of these cheap little O-rings. I told him that if he lost the ones I gave him, to come back in, and I'd give him some more considering they are quite small. He came back in later in the afternoon, and I thought that maybe he would need some more O-rings. Instead, him and his family gave me a box of expensive chocolates expressing how thankful they were, and how much they struggled finding the O-rings until they came into my store. They praised my customer service and were the kindest souls. I was in absolute shock because I didn't feel like it was deserved. This will always stick with me. They absolutely made my year with it. I couldn't wipe the massive grin off my face. See, these are the stories I like. Again, this is the great thing about Tales from Retail. You've got the crazy people, you've got the entitled people, you've got the people who are maybe a little bit lacking in the common sense area. And then you have like sweet stories like these. Like you didn't really expect it and they're just like, hey, you know what? I really appreciate it. We couldn't find this anywhere. Let's just show our appreciation in this way. It's just nice. Our thrift store has a no return policy. However, on most items, we can do an exchange up to 7 days after the purchase, as long as the tag and bill are present during the new transaction. No refunds, no store credits, just straight exchange. One of the non-exchangeable items on our list is books, and if an exception is made, the manager has to write it on the bill. Usually even then, we give the store a call to make sure a customer didn't forge. I had this customer come in, and he explains he bought a bunch of cookbooks and didn't realize he had them already, and he wants to exchange them all, like $50 in books. M is me, C is customer. I'm sorry, but we cannot do this exchange. Books are final sale. When I bought them, I asked if I could bring them back, and you said I could. I'm sorry, sir, but I do not remember cashing you out or ever mentioning books are exchangeable. I would have marked the bill if I made an exception. I mean, it wasn't here, it was at the other location. That cashier was breaking our policy then, and I do not see any writing on the bill. Unfortunately, I cannot honor your exchange here. No, she said I can do it here. I do this all the time, just do the exchange. I checked the bill for the store's phone number. Okay, sir, allow me to call this other store to see if they will allow me to do this. Go ahead. I call the supervisor and cashier. Both tell me they remember telling him strictly books are final sale when he cashed out. So, sir, I have been told that your exchange was never validated by the cashier or the supervisor. This is ridiculous. You want to lose business like this? Where is that stupid policy posted anyway? It is written on each register, Matt, and also on the bill, right here. Who reads those anyway? I do. The information on bills is there for the customers, so it's good to read them. That's stupid. Nobody reads bills. Sir, it's people who do not read the bills who run into problems like this. At this point, he huffs and stomps off towards the books department. I'm pretty certain he was gonna steal, so I sent a team member to the department to discreetly tidy up and keep an eye on him until he left. Still proud of that last line there. He seemed embarrassed that I was able to call him out and back it up so easily. And if he was more polite about it, maybe I would have made an exception. Gotta love people lying and being jerks. It's like that kid who tries to play both parents. They're like, mom said I could, or dad said I could. They're just like, the other store said, like, you will lie. This story comes from my 2 years working retail at a national pharmacy chain located in Midtown Detroit, Michigan. I was the lowest ranking manager at the time, but still management. I was also working almost every night from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. One night, a man walks in, we catch sight of him shoving a few items into his pants and jacket, and running out of the store. A local police officer happened to be driving by when I chased him out of the store. He saw what happened and went back and caught the guy and brought him and the items back. The man had half a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, some Kraft singles, Oscar Mayer bologna, sliced ham, and a box of Raisin Bran. Not your typical high-value to-be resold goods. More like things that someone who is actually hungry and struggling would steal. The police brought him and the items back and asked if I wanted them returned. I said no, let him keep them, but I wanted to talk to him if I could. He agreed, and I told the man, look, these don't look like things that you're going to go resell. These are for you because you're hungry. And I understand that things can be bad, so I'm not going to have this officer arrest you, and I'm going to let you keep this stuff. But in the future, if you're hungry, I'm here 6 nights a week. You can come see me, and I will help you out." He left grateful, shook my hand, and took the goods. The cop and the asset protection agent working both said that they'd never seen someone treat a case like that, and they were both impressed. That is until the very next night when he came in and tried stealing the same dang stuff again. This time the cops arrested him and brought back the goods, which got destroyed. Okay, so if you were like me and thought that was gonna end up wholesome, we were both duped because, that's so annoying. Sorry, I've gotten into this thing where I keep on doing what I call my devil or demon voice. And it's like, I don't know, it's a weird habit that I've picked up recently, and it's carrying over to even when I'm recording, so I apologize. But you might be hearing that a lot more recently. Either way though, it's just so frustrating because it was gonna be such a wholesome story, and like if they needed anything, they would come to that manager, and they were just stealing because they were like really in need of food, and then they go and steal again. Like, what the heck, bro? What the heck? But let's end on an actual wholesome note. Short read, wholesome. This happened a few years ago. I absolutely love cinnamon sugar churros, and a local store sells them. I'm sure you see where this is going, but it's a nice retail memory. A customer and I were babbling about stuff, and I told her to try those churros a few blocks down. Rural takes 2 minutes. I thought nothing of it, just popped up since we were talking about candle scents and food. Something came up, her credit card wouldn't read in the machine, or we didn't take that card, something along those lines. So I held her items back, somewhat of a risk since 90% of the time customers never come back for clothes. Maybe they lose their wallet, who knows. When she came back from the bank, she brought me churros. She was a really nice lady. Oh, so good on that customer to actually come back with money and buy their clothes that were being held, and so cool to like remember their conversation and be like, you know, you really like those churros, I'm gonna try some out and bring you some. Like, that's just nice. Anyway, that is definitely wrapping up this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button and let me know your thoughts about these stories in the comments below. I also have a Patreon with some exclusive content. And if you like me being silly on the mic, you'll probably like my Patreon perks. And of course, you get to be, you know, a little more influential than the average commenter, I guess. I don't know, with my content. I'm having a weird day, so I'm sorry I'm rambling a bit. But either way, and thank you to my current patrons, actually, at the time of recording, current patron, who is super amazing and awesome, and I love you so much. And I love all of you for being here. Thank you for being so supportive, whether it's with money or views or just being here, just being amazing. I'm gonna stop rambling at some point. Either way, if you like my kind of content, you should probably subscribe, you know, so you can catch it more often. And yeah, I think that's all I'm trying to say here. Drop a like, all that jazz, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!